All right, so with your study guide, and stuff that we talk about doesn't necessarily have to be answering all the questions, like 1 through 12. We can get into some other things with it as well. But number one's a pretty good question to kind of start off with here. Overall, how would we describe society that Montauk's living in? And we don't want to go, it's in the future, or it's different. What does make it so different? Are there things that is similar to how we are here in 2018? And in what ways do you see it maybe kind of being a little bit more extreme than the way that things are going on here in 2018? So what would be some similarities that we have, number one? Let's kind of look at it that way.
More technology.
So similar in the using technology.
Yeah.
Okay. So society is technology based. Don't have to list every single thing here. What would be some technological things that we know they have? Which could be things that we have or things that we don't have. Large screen TVs where they're kind of filling up all the walls. How many
jet cars?
How many wall TVs do Millie and Guy have? We've got 3, and they want it. Well, she wants to get a 4th, so she'll completely be covered within her room with all the TVs. Anyone remember how much a TV costs? It's $2,000, and Guy is kind of no, we don't want to buy another TV because he says that is 1/3 of his salary. So certainly a difference would be the whole pay. If that's 1/3 of his salary, he's making $6,000 a year as a fireman, and this is roughly like 400 years in the future. So the whole money thing is certainly very different. 1/3 of someone's salary, assuming he's an average salary, let's say an average, I don't know, $40,000 to $50,000, you're looking at a $15,000 TV is essentially what that whole wall thing would cost. And you could go to Sam's Club and probably get a 70-inch TV for around $1,000, in some cases even cheaper. But technology-based, TV's big. What piece of technology does Millie like besides TV? What are they? Well, for us, they would be, yeah, earbuds. They refer to them as like seashells. But the earbuds that she listens to so far is radio, helping her fall asleep, which isn't going to be uncommon from stuff that we do. We know that they have cars, but certainly the speed go up to over 100 miles per hour wouldn't be all that different. But cars, earbuds, TVs, and certainly we can have cars going over 100 miles an hour, but it's much more accepted for them.
What's that say, Paul? Oh,
Earbuds, TVs. I would. Yeah, you can put seashells. Besides technology, or at least not limiting it to technology, what are other things we know about their society?
Don't like books.
Books on fire. Don't like books. We know that they end up getting caught on fire. So it's not just that they don't like books, but to own a book is going to be illegal. If they know you have one, they're going to come and burn them. And we have an instance where, hey, if you end up going down in the fire along with the books, that could happen as well. What else? What do we know about Millie fairly early on? What's our first encounter with Millie? Well, even before she's awake. Guy comes home from work, goes into the bedroom, and when he discovers Millie, Ben,
Passed out. She had too many pills. Oh, snap. Yeah, she was tripping.
Why is she taking all of this?
Oh, okay.
She is.
That's never going to happen.
what kind of pills does she take?
They're like silencing.
Oops.
Silencing?
Yeah.
She takes sleeping pills. The issue is she clearly takes far too many pills than she should, and he does basically calls 911, and you have the technicians end up showing up, trying to get her better. They show up very early. We're talking like page here 9 and 10 is when they come. He ends up calling them in. They give a little bit account of everything that is going on with it. Take a look at bottom of page 12. Open up to page 12.
Got to clean them out both ways, said the operator standing over there. Standing over the sign. No use getting your stomach if you don't clean the blood. Leave that stuff in the blood and the blood hits the brain just like a mallet burn a couple thousand times and the brain just gives up and just quits.
So what do?
They got to clean them out both ways.
But for medical terms, like literally right then and there, she basically gets a
Transfusion.
blood transfusion where you flush out the blood and you put in new blood. So machine comes in, she's passed out, we hook it up, tube goes into George, old blood comes out, new tube goes into George, new blood comes in, not a big deal. And they keeps on going with it, and they're smoking the cigarette while this is happening. I'm halfway down page 13. We get these cases 9 or 10 a night. Got so many starting a few years ago that we had special machines built with the optical lens, of course, that was new. The rest is ancient. You don't need an MD case like this. All you need is 2 handymen, clean up the problem, half an hour. Look, he started for the door. We gotta go. Just have another call on the old ear thimble. Off they go. So with the whole sleeping pill thing that takes place, this is not a unusual case because you get, as he said, 9 to 10 of these per night. And rather than it seeming like you're calling the emergency room or EMS 911, it's almost like a plumber comes over. You gotta flush it out, put it in the Drano.
So what the heck?
The drain will be, the clog will come out. Everything's perfectly fine. It's not gonna be a big deal. We don't know the reason for her taking the sleeping pills. Is it accidental that she just wants to take a nap, fall asleep, and she took 1 too many or 10 too many? Is there more of a mental issue taking place where she is unhappy and you have a suicide taking place? It is not clear. But the problem would be if you have 9 or 10 people per night, and you get the sense that within this community that you have 9 or 10 people per night overdosing on sleeping pills, where this is a common thing where we just build a machine that fixes it, you probably do have a greater issue that would be taking place. You could go, hey, for similarity to our society, what's the drug epidemic that people are most worried about? Heroin, and then all just opioids, in general. And then when opioids become like prescription, if they become too expensive, then people will start looking at heroin with a cheaper price tag for it. You could certainly go maybe similar in that regard, or are people using it simply as a drug, or is it a societal issue where you have some unhappy people that are purposely overdosing? At this point in time, we don't know. You never get 100% clarity with it, but that does seem to be a societal issue problem that certainly would take place. So you can tell that at least with Millie, and Mildred's her full name, but goes by Millie, there do certainly seem to be some issues where things might not be exactly perfect between Guy and Millie. Who's Millie's family? TV, aunt, uncle. When did Millie and Guy meet? Why don't you know then? Because it's not so simply that they don't tell us, but it's simple they don't know. We've been married for 10 years. I don't remember where we met or anything like that. That would be an issue within a relationship. Hey, when did we meet? I don't know.
They've been taking too much sleep.
Oh, that's the key.
Well, is that something where it simply goes with her? He's not sure either, and there doesn't seem to be the whole narcotic issue going on with him. So maybe, and hey, what's a complaint that sometimes people have about society? And because you were asking me about the term that was on your quiz, if you're apathetic, if you're apathetic, you're indifferent, you simply don't care. And you certainly seem to get a sense that a lot of people, maybe within that society, don't care. Just about stuff in general. A person who would be an opposite force to this, though, who does seem to care, would be Clarice, and that what makes her so different from most people. She kind of takes a look at the little things and sees importance in little things that other people tend not to. What makes her different?
She's like elegant, graceful, showing like a
Nature.
Do you know how old she is? 17. Ultimately, we do know that what happens to her, or at least we get a sense as to what happens to her, and we had a question later on. What is shocking and disturbing about the way that Montauk finds out what happened to Clarice? For number 6, who tells him that she's been hit by a car? Millie. So Millie tells him, again, this is number 6, towards the bottom of your sheet. A couple details that we know about this would be about Clarice is hit by a car, hit/killed. Again, we know cars are going up to 100 miles an hour. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot of concern about stuff like that. Millie thinks that people are too violent are naturally too violent in the culture that they live in. So she gets killed by this violence, and Clarice doesn't seem to care about it at all. Or excuse me, thank you, Millie. So Millie, I bet Clarice does care. Doesn't seem to be fazed. And in fact, she doesn't remember even to say anything to Guy. She tells him 4 days later after the fact, where and it's not just that you necessarily have to tell someone something bad that happens to a person the minute that it happens, but keep in mind, relationship-wise, it is neighbor. Oh, I forgot to tell you. The neighbor's house burned down a week ago or something like that. You would expect to get information like that right away. Now, yes, a house burning down, you'd probably be able to tell on your own. You wouldn't need someone telling you about it. But 4 days later, neighbor, if you weren't home, I guess you wouldn't know. You would expect that there would be a little bit more urgency with it, and that's not happening at all here with it. Ben, was your hand going up? So for Clarice, things that we do know, she's 17 years old. What are things that she likes to do? Walk and, rhymes with walk, talk.
Whack and tack. Whack and tackle.
Are you trying to be annoying so that I move your seat back?
Well, I mean, I can't really see.
There you go. Walk and talk, takes walks on her own, conversations with family. And this is where folks would be going, hey, this sounds an awful lot like short story we read. And not so much just necessarily her, but she even tells you about uncle that was arrested one time for taking a walk. That would kind of match up with what's going on with the pedestrian.
Her uncle was
Yo.
And the idea wouldn't be to go, oh my goodness, it's the same person, they live in that same city. But that's certainly like a thematic connection that would take place with it. Bradbury does go on record as saying he's thinking of the uncle as connecting back to the pedestrian, but it's not that they have to be necessarily exactly the same person. But certainly a similar issue would kind of be taking place with it. Things about Clarice that she notices about Guy. What does Guy actually do that she claims most adults don't? Specifically firemen. Since she talks all the time, he listens. So she's interested in conversation. She's interested in kind of like appreciating things.
Wait. What were you saying about God?
The fact that he's actually listening with the conversation makes him unique and different from other people. Yeah.
I listen to the conversation.
Mhm.
But Reese killed her, or no, Millie killed her because she was mad because she thought she was getting. It's all I got. It's all figured out.
But she talks about smelling, taking the leaves, grounding them up, smelling it, smells like cinnamon, or talks about flowers, reference to nature, whereas you have more people worried about screens and whatnot, the TVs, she kind of tends to be the opposite of that. So if you were to contrast her with another character, Millie would certainly be an opposite, a foil character. So she essentially contrasts or contradicts Millie's character. First question you had on your quiz, paraphrasing it, what does Guy think about his job? When the book opens, what does he think about being a fireman? Does he dislike it? Is he all in? Thumbs up? So I don't remember what all the choices were, but essentially he's enthusiastic about the job. He loves it. It's everything that he would want it to be. When he first sees Clarice, she talks about can always tell when a fireman's coming, and he makes reference to kerosene being like perfume and all that type of stuff. He's all in. But after he starts having conversations with Millie, that's when you start to see some change kind of takes place in Guy, and maybe he's not as sure about it as much as he thought it was. As we move forward, we'll talk about these examples a little bit more tomorrow. Question number 3, you're dealing with the mechanical hound, where it kind of seems to sense something with him every time he comes in. And then also there's the scene where they go to the woman's house with the books, where it seems to be a little bit uneasy for him. Not counting questions that someone didn't answer because you forgot about it, but 1 through 12, just so we know what we need moving forward. Were there any questions that you specifically were going, I don't know exactly what I need to do with this one? Looking at them, I'd say number 12 might be one with foreshadowing. The people weren't exactly sure of all the examples that they might use for that. Are there any other questions? Going up to number 11, we're supposed to take a look at where you're definitely stuck. Tomorrow, for sure, we're going to take a look at number 12, and I want to spend some time going over the scene with the woman, with the books that we have being burned, and then also just trying to figure out some stuff about the fire department in general and information that we're learning about them. So have books with you tomorrow. You can start reading with part 2. We're not going to worry about talking anything with part 2 until we get to there next week. Study guide. Answer those questions. Don't forget about it. So that if you missed out on study guide points this time around, you still have them next week. Go cat quiz. We're going over this Friday. Look over list number 9. Make sure